To Connie for sending in a flower for 30 jewels. Appreciate the support. Oh God, you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read out loud, engage with it. Just $2 and up. Help us get to that $100 goal so we can open up the call-in line.
Having to find more space for those planes, but the F-22s being in Israel, along with those 14 air refueling tankers, that suggests to me that this is going to be happening over a number of days, if not longer, and there are going to be waves of strikes. And we have just seen the first launch. And I, as I was mentioning earlier, most likely the initial launch was carried out by Tomahawk missiles. You would do that, and you would also use standoff weapons that can be fired from outside of Iranian airspace to protect your forces and your planes while you see what the Iranian missile defense and air defense systems, which ones have survived, how many have survived, and you'll know that pretty soon after this initial launch.
And just lastly, Jennifer, as our viewers are waking up with combat operations just starting, let's talk about sort of the last we heard of negotiations. The foreign minister to Oman, Badr al-Busaidi, did an interview with CBS's Margaret Brennan saying that peace was still within reach and saying that Iran was possibly willing to give up their enrichment program. What do you make of that?
Well, I think the problem is...
No, they were willing to give up their enrichment program. The problem is that, well, Israel kind of saw a different threat. They were like, oh, well, we thought it was only your nuclear weapon program that was a threat to us, but honestly, it's your ballistic missile program that is too, because the 12-day war proved that when all of their, well, a good amount of their missiles was actually landing inside of Israel, regardless of the Iron Dome. So that's why we have this goalpost move from nuclear enrichment to their ballistic missiles, because it's a threat to Israel, not us, but Israel. But all right, let's go ahead and see what Bibi Netanyahu got to say, or what the Israelis are saying. Let's get over to Al Jazeera.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has also made an address to the nation saying that the attack on Iran has been launched to remove, quote, an existential threat. Netanyahu added a call for the Iranian people to take their fate into their own hands.
Israel and the United States launched a joint campaign, Operation Lion's Roar. The objective of the operation is to put an end to the threat from the Ayatollah regime in Iran. At this time, the IDF is attacking targets of the oppressive regime, facilities of the Revolutionary Guard, along with the United States military, targeting ballistic missile sites that threaten both Israel and U.S. forces. This operation will continue as long as necessary. In recent months, the tyrants in Iran have been plotting to rebuild their nuclear and missile capabilities and to bury them underground, where we won't be able...
Oh my God, Bibi, like once again, with no proof whatsoever that Iran was going towards a nuke. They've made laws saying that they will never go towards a nuke. And they've stated that we have the right to maintain a peaceful nuclear program, which they do. They do. And they have the right to defend themselves and have ballistic missiles. But according to Israel, that's a right that, I mean, they just don't have, apparently. They don't have a right to defend themselves. And that's really the argument that they're putting before the Iranians. Pretty much saying that you don't have a right to have a nuclear enrichment program. You don't have the right to defend yourselves or to proxy. You know what? I'm in agreement with the proxy. But to the right to defend themselves, I mean, come on now. You actually thought they were going to accept that? Even if, I don't know, as Americans, we wish they would accept that. But we all know they wasn't.
Able to strike them. If we don't stop them now, they will become invulnerable. To that end, the representatives in negotiations are trying to buy time, attempting to buy time in fruitless and deceitful negotiations with our American friends. Whoever lays down their weapons, including among the regime forces, will ensure their safety and secure their future. The Iranian people in all their diversity, Persians, Kurds, Azeris, Baluch, Abkhazians, and all other citizens of this wonderful nation, this is your opportunity to establish a new and free Iran. Take your destiny.
Well, some Israelis have expressed their support for the decision to attack Iran.
So once again, just like Trump, they're saying, look, we're striking them. We need you guys to take over, or this isn't really going to work out the way we want. And it's kind of like, you know, the U.S. and Israel both admitting that, yo, these strikes aren't enough to take out your government. We know that. We acknowledge that. So we need the Iranian people to go in there and take over, once we weaken the government. I mean, basically, we're trying again. We couldn't do it with the so-called revolution with the Mossad agents and the CIA agents giving the protesters weapons. We couldn't do it like that. So now we're just going to use full-on military force in hopes that it weakens the regime enough for the people to take over. Let's see if it works.
Everything is going to be okay. It's about time. I don't want to wait anymore for what's coming. Now it's coming. Let's finish it and let's start the day. We've got Purim in 3 days, celebration of freedom. And it's kind of the history repeats itself because it was with Iran in Diamond Passion and it's coming back.
The attack about Israel and the American attack on Iran, that I think it's something we had to do. We see our enemies trying to get us back into war and to attack and threaten us, and they didn't have enough. And we need.
Iran didn't threaten nobody. Iran has threatened nobody. That's the wildest part about this. If anything, Iran has actually shown more restraint than Israel. Israel's the one that attacked like 7 countries in the past 2 years. You know how much Iran attacked? Like, first, nobody. The war they got in with Israel is because Israel attacked them first. So it's kind of funny we're painting Iran as this radical regime who just does all this like crazy stuff when, I'm gonna be real with you, the Israeli government proved to be the radical regime that you can't put a collar on.
To protect ourselves. And I think with the Arab enemies, we noticed, I'm 43, I've knew some wars in my life, that we have to be the first. We have to establish that we are strong, we are not scared, and we are here to protect our land.
To say the truth, I'm quite surprised that Israel is the first one to attack. I was expecting the United States to attack first. I'm not sure that it's good for Israel to be the first one, but once it's taken and once it's done, I think, and the hope for a great change in the Mediterranean.
And guys, remember, they're all under the mindset that this is going to end within, like, I'm going to be real with you, a month at most. They're under that mindset. And you know what? I hope they're right, because if they're not, it's going to be terrible for Israel because they're going to get relentlessly struck by missiles, relentlessly. We're going to be sitting over here in America just kicking back, watching it, but they're going to be the ones really going through it.
Let's bring back Noor O'Day in Ramallah once again. Noor, very interesting from what we heard there from that sample of Israelis. One woman there saying it's something that we had to do. We have to establish that we are strong. This is something that the Israeli government has been feeding to Israelis time and time again.
Yep. That Iran is just this radical regime. They're going to attack us any minute. Oh, remember? Oh, they're 5 days away from a bomb. And that was told to us like, 20 years ago. And then repeatedly told to us, and we never had no proof that they had a bomb. But for some reason, we got people who are just, I'm gonna be honest with you, like, I wish some people were a little smarter because the pattern recognition was so obvious. Like, bro, it's the same thing they used for Iraq that they used for Iran. It's the copy and paste, and we fell for it again. Weapons of mass destruction that were not there. Oh, Iran got nukes that we know they don't got. We know what they don't got it. Now it's about what? Ballistic missiles. And they said, oh, when we take out Saddam, positive reverberations throughout the Middle East. Oh, we take out Khomeini, positive reverberations throughout the Middle East. Did that happen when it came to Iraq? No. But for some reason, you don't realize the pattern recognition of what's going on right now. Crazy.
Absolutely. Attacking Iran, opposing Iran, trying to topple the government in Tehran is basically a point of consensus in Israeli politics. We even heard from Yair Lapid, the head of the opposition in Israel's Knesset a few days ago, saying if there is a confrontation with Iran, there would be no government and opposition. Israel would be united. And Benjamin Netanyahu is banking on that. He understands that nobody can oppose a confrontation with Iran, the most favored enemy, if one can say that, for lack of a better word. This is a confrontation that Netanyahu is framing as existential, even though there is no evidence that Iran has nuclear grades weapon capability, that Iran has never initiated an attack on Israel. Israel, a nuclear power, has, on the other hand, and attacked Iran several times, but the doctrine in Israel is one of dominance. The doctrine in this Israeli right-wing government is one where Israel must be the dominant hegemon, militarily, politically, and economically. Confronting Iran and changing the regime is in line with that policy, with that doctrine, and there is jubilation in political circles that Donald Trump has agreed with Benjamin Netanyahu on that issue.
All right, Noor, thank you for now. Noor O'Day in Ramallah there for us. Well,
all right, though, let's go ahead and get over to the next video here at ABC News.
But let's talk about just these past few months, from the demonstrations in Iran that were taking place, but also these negotiations between U.S. and Iran that were also going on.
They have been ongoing, these negotiations, but if you remember, President Trump at first threatened to go after Iran in the last month because of the massive protests that you saw across Iran, and thousands killed, thousands of protesters, according to human rights groups who are keeping.
My bad, guys. My bad. What I was pretty much saying was, isn't it kind of funny how they were sitting here talking about, oh, Iran's nuclear defense, well, not nuclear, but missile defense has been degraded. Really? You sure about that? Because they done struck like 4 countries within the past 2 hours, guys. I just want to let y'all know this. 4 or 5 countries in the past 2 hours, but we got Fox News talking about their missile system has been degraded. No, if anything, it's been advanced. And they're most likely going to strut down the Strait of a Moose, and we're going to see high gas prices. I mean, gas prices went up when they were just running a naval drill. So please spare me, guys. But let's get back to it.
Track of this, the president threatened Iran, and then he has talked very little about the protests. That is not the reason that President Trump wanted to go into Iran. He talked about these nuclear sites. Just at the State of the Union, the president said that he wanted to make sure that Iran didn't have a nuclear weapon, but he also said at the State of the Union that the U.S. had obliterated the nuclear facilities inside Iran. That is clearly not the case if he wants to go back and get rid of the enriched uranium. He wants to make sure these facilities.
Oh, guys, is the audio good? Just put a thumbs up in the chat.
Are destroyed. I have to say it's quite unusual that they would go after Tehran in the daytime. I think one of the reasons that President Trump in the past, in his first term, didn't want to go after Iran, they were worried about killing people. That is obviously collateral damage, innocent people. We don't know what we are looking at in terms of the strike in Tehran. But it is clearly in broad daylight and people are likely on the streets. During these negotiations, I think one thing to remember is that as of yesterday, when these negotiations and the president said he wasn't happy with them, the Iranians surely knew this would happen and would happen soon, that this wasn't just a show of force. President Trump was very serious about taking action.
I mean, trust me, I'm pretty sure the Iranians seen it coming from the negotiations and how it was working out. It's like, think about it. They walk in talking about nuclear enrichment. They're like, okay, we can give you a deal on that. No problem. And then they walk in again and they're talking about, oh, yeah, well, not only do we want you to, no, like, we don't even want you to have a nuclear enrichment program whatsoever, not downgrade your nuclear enrichment to 3%. We don't want you to have one whatsoever. And they're like, okay, hold on now. I don't think we could do that. But they were willing to hear us out. Then they walk in again. And like I said, we're talking about not only do we want you to have no nuclear program, but you can have no ballistic missiles either. And you got to stop funding all your proxies that get in the way of Israel's taking over of the Middle East. Like all that got to stop. And that's where Iran hit us with the hell no, which was expected. Like I said, I wish they took the deal, but come on now, let's be real.
According to the information obtained from these two corrupt regimes, referring, of course, to the Israelis and Americans, their operations will continue in Tehran and some other cities. The government...
I'm weak. So, yes, Iran under attack, the attack carried out by the Zionist regime and the United States against Iran are clear examples of armed aggression. I mean, well, obviously. All right, yeah, and shout out to my man Captain. He says, how much of this is to distract from the files? Most of it. I'll be real with you. You know what? I know a lot of people want to say this distraction from the files, but not really. It's been brewing for a while. Israel's been talking about war with Iran for like 2 decades now. This has just been something that's been coming up for a while. And Trump is the one that's finally giving the Israelis what they've been asking for about 2 decades now, which is a damn shame, by the way. Like he said, no new wars. And like I said, this has not been drawn out as a war yet. But let it be a week, and Iran's still out here throwing missiles, and we're still throwing missiles inside of Iran, and that's exactly what it's going to be. When their first U.S. casualty happened, I mean, when they closed down the Strait of Hormuz, that's when things are going to get bad. And trust me, it's going to be, you know what? It will be a huge distraction from the Epstein files when gas prices start rising.
Has already prepared all the needs of society, and there is no concern about the supply of public necessities. Schools and universities will be closed until further notice. Banks will continue to serve the dear nation of Iran. Government offices will operate at 50% capacity of the dear nation of Iran. Government offices will operate at 50% capacity for the time being. So a statement there from Iran's National Security Council. Let's go to Mohammed Val in Tehran for an update on the situation on the ground. Mohammed, what's been happening there?
Yes, fully just about.
Oh, and guys, we didn't wanted this for a while. Actually, we've been preparing this for a while, even in the background. Like, did anybody catch how our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, pretty much said out loud, the quiet part out loud, is that, yeah, we deliberately destroyed their currency, knowing that was going to cause an uprising. We funded the protesters and put guns in their hands, hoping that was going to cause a revolution. And now that didn't work, here we are. I mean, bro, we've been pulling the strings when it came to a conflict with Iran for a minute now.
15 to 20 minutes ago, we had new explosions here in Tehran. We couldn't locate the exact targets of those.
Oh, yeah, but shout out Captain, though, bro. Appreciate the support. Guy, you got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read that loud and engage with it. Just $2 and up. Appreciate the support, guys. All right, let's keep it going.
Those explosions, but that's clearly an indication of the continuation of this operation, as has been promised by the American president. Iranians also are bracing for this, and as you just mentioned, the Supreme National Council, Security Council, has announced that this is going to be an ongoing operation, and that people have to take shelter in safe areas. They have to avoid going to unsafe places.
Oh, and breaking news, UAE warns its reserves its full rights to respond to the Iranian missile attack. So UAE might be joining in with Israel and United States when it comes to striking Iran.
And that there are also reassurances, on the other hand, that the banks will continue to function.
And if you don't know why UAE wants to get involved, it's because they're going through a proxy war with Iran and Yemen. I know you thought Iran was the only people, paying proxies, but so are Saudi Arabians, so are the guys over there in the UAE. Yeah, they also fund proxies in Yemen, which this is why Yemen is like a 3-way war through proxies. I mean, it's the proxies that the Saudi Arabians support, proxies that the UAE supports, and the proxies, which is the Houthis, that the Iranians support. But it's kind of crazy how we don't ever touch on those two when they support proxies.
Some of the schools and universities will be closing for the moment until further notice. And it has advised people not to rush to stockpile on commodities, because there is enough of those commodities, that the government has been taking the necessary precaution measures for this, so that there will be no crisis in food or any other facilities or amenities. So the government basically is saying that things are under control, that it is gearing up its defenses. The air defense systems are in full action mode inside Tehran and other locations. I can't simply keep track of the number of cities that are being attacked. It is getting to be a very long list now. The latest was Oromia in the northwest, Dizvul. Also, you have Bandar Abbas, Isfahan, Qum. All across the country, you have cities, Shiraz also, that have been targeted. It seems to me that this is no longer just a campaign that is focused on nuclear sites in Iran. This is a very wide range of targets, including government facilities, defense ministry facilities, and also the Iranian army and the Iranian National Guard. As the Americans said, clearly this is a campaign that is going to be continuous until probably regime change can be effected in the country.
What about the Iranian people, Mohammed? We heard there from the National Security Council that provisions have been made. There is enough, food and so on.
Yeah.
But Iranians would have also made.
And here's the problem with the Iranian people. Like, we sell this propaganda that 90% of Iran doesn't agree with their government, want their government gone. I mean, bro, if that was true, Iran would have been gone since the revolution. It's true. They probably would have been gone years ago. But that's just not the truth. If anything, maybe there's 55% who, don't like the government and 45% who do. And that's not a large enough majority to sit there and overthrow the Islamic regime of Iran. So we do sell a propaganda thinking that, it's just going to be this easy conquest to overtopple the regime. They don't got that much support. But I believe we fuck around and find out every time, because that's what happened to Israel. They thought that striking Iran was going to cause the same dysfunctions where the regime was going to be overthrown. No, what they do, gather around the flag and they start striking Israel. It's looking like that's what Iran's about to do again. Gather around the flag and start striking Israel and U.S. bases.
Preparations ahead of this.
Well, look, I have been following the situation here in Tehran only since I arrived just 1 day ago, and today we are really short on updates because of this blackout. There is a report from an international agency that is monitoring internet in Tehran. It is saying that 96% of the national network has been blocked. So we're not really able to follow on social media and listen or reading what people are saying. But we know from the previous situations, and also we know from the recent days and weeks, that the Iranians are divided, a little bit divided about this. Some of them have been protesting against the government in charge, and they are probably willing to see some kind of change. But that contradicts the need, even among these people, for safety, personal safety for their families and so on. And now that this campaign is taking place all across Iran, nobody is safe in this war.
Yeah.
And you have also the people.
That's why when people want to post on X, there's Iranians dancing in the street, it's just like, bro, look, stop the propaganda. It's like, those people are scared for their lives right now because they know that they can get struck at any minute, and that, what's Israel going to do? Just say, Iran like to use people as human shields, and we'll go ahead and use the same excuse when we start bombing civilians. Hopefully we don't. But let's be honest, if it gets drawn out, this is exactly what's going to happen. And if we're trying to topple the regime, it's going to get messy. And if you think this is going to be an easy mission like Venezuela, I'm sorry, but maybe you need to run the numbers, like the population comparison, the size comparison of the country, weapons capability and all that good stuff, because a lot of y'all are misinformed on that.
The millions of people who are supporting the regime, and they have been demonstrating in the streets. We have seen that on occasion. They are also against this war. Everybody is preparing for the worst. Everybody wants to stay safe, but everybody also is dreaming of some kind of outcome that suits what they like to see happening in the country.
Yeah, everyone, as you say, Mohammed, preparing for the worst, including people in the region, not just in Iran and Israel. Iran has launched several retaliatory strikes on U.S. assets in the region, including in Bahrain, which has confirmed that there have been attacks inside its territory. It also says the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's Fifth Fleet has been targeted by a missile attack, and has urged people to take cover in a safe area. Loud explosions have been heard in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, which has announced the closure of its airspace, both temporarily and partially. These are some of the latest images that appear to show interceptions over the skies, and interceptions of Iranian missiles also here in Qatar, which is home to the largest U.S. military base in the region, at Al Udeid. Let's check in with Axel Zaimovic, who's in Doha. Axel, bring us up to speed with what's been happening here. There have been several missiles intercepted here in Qatar.
Well, that's correct, Foley. We're actually standing at a location where we saw firsthand that these active Qatar's air defense operations are unfolding, but we see their intercepted missiles
No one has
coming
said anything,
to the
so I'm
direction
here.
of the city of Doha. And not long ago, we actually saw that the smoke is actually coming from the direction of the old port. And that goes really with lines what the Qatar official statement says here, that everybody should stay indoors. And they keep urging population, not just people living here, not foreign nationals, but everybody in the country to stay indoors, because this situation is rapidly moving and it's quite changing quickly on the ground. But we also have another warning coming from the U.S. Embassy. Actually, that's the warning that was in place early morning. They told people here in Qatar to take cover, to take shelter, and also to follow official channels of communication, because, as I said, the situation is rapidly moving here. But for now, what we saw is Qatar's air defense are intercepting missile and projectiles coming to the directions in Qatar. And of course, it's really important to mention that it really goes with the context of Al Udeid air base. That's the largest American military installation here in the Middle East. And that's the reason why we saw smoke coming from the direction of the old port. But also, we cannot independently confirm this report that the base itself has been hit in any of these attacks.
Okay, so we can't just
But there has been a direct hit in Doha, though. There has been a direct hit in Doha and Qatar. Like I said, I mean, they like to say that, oh, their weapons, their missile defense system has been degraded, but they're hitting all these targets as we speak. Let me see here if I can go ahead and pull up the Doha footage.
From the reports that the base itself at Al Udeid has been hit. We do know, though, that Qatar has closed its airspace, and so has the UAE and Kuwait. Qatar Airways, Axel, announcing the suspension of flights from Doha. This is going to cause a huge disruption across the region.
That's true. And it also, Qatar also issued a statement saying that all the flights are canceled until further notice. And everybody, people who have scheduled flights to leave the country or come in the country should remain indoors. But also, the government is urging population here to not to go out in any public gatherings, to stay indoors, to make sure they have enough supplies until the situation.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. You got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? I'll be happy to read out loud and engage with it. Just $2 and up. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's keep it going.
Is more clear. But from the perspective, what I'm seeing here is standing at this live position, I still see that the traffic in Doha is ongoing. It's slightly subdued for a weekend here in Qatar, but it's really, really important to follow official channels of the communication, and the government is urging everybody not to cause panic and not to take any unnecessary journeys in this particular moment.
So, Axel, what are Qatari authorities saying briefly, if you can, in just a minute, if you can, about what might happen tomorrow, whether, schools and offices will be open tomorrow, whether the airspace will reopen soon?
Well, from this perspective, it's really early to say how this situation is going to unfold in the future. But what we know is that some public entities have advised their employees to essentially work from home until further notice, because it's very hard to predict in which direction this entire regional conflict might go. But what we know is that everybody should exercise caution. And as I've been repeating, it's just to basically stay indoors. That's the only most accurate and relevant information that we're getting from the government at this point.
Axel, thank you very much for now. Axel Zaimovic in Doha there for us. If you're just joining us on Al Jazeera, it's just past 10 GMT.
You know what's going to be the craziest part? When Iranian civilians start dying, you know what the propaganda are going to hit you with? Oh, well, they was with the Ayatollah, so you don't got to feel bad for them. I mean, and there's going to be no proof that they support the Ayatollah or anything like that. But I mean, look, man, when civilians start dying, I just want y'all to prepare for the propaganda they're going to feed you to pretty much, well, and be real with you, justify the innocent taking of civilian lives, just like they did in Gaza. But all right, though, this is what's happening in Doha, Qatar right now. All right, though, let's go ahead and get over here on Fox News. Missiles incoming. Alerts go across Tehran as strikes continue. Get right into it.
New York, a little after 11 in the morning, if I'm doing my time calculations correctly. I'm sorry, a little after 10 in the morning in Tel Aviv. In Tehran, it's approaching noon. It's 11:34 there. And U.S. and Israeli forces have begun strikes, massive strikes, on Iranian governmental and military sites throughout that country. Let's get back to Trey Yingst. Trey, we just, pardon me, we just heard that extraordinary message that the president posted on Truth Social about these attacks, saying, among other things, that we are doing this not for now, but for the future. Any reaction that you're hearing in Israel to what the president had to say?
Yeah, John, the United States and Israel are striking Iran as we speak. President Trump addressing the world, saying this operation is massive and ongoing. The Israelis are already responding. I'm talking with sources here who are watching closely what the president says. We understand there was a significant amount of coordination over the past, not only several weeks, but several months between American and Israeli counterparts in.
Oh, and just in, an Iranian ballistic missile has impacted the U.S. military base in Jordan. So, yes, they just struck Jordan. I'm going to go ahead and get the footage for that soon.
Preparation for these strikes. I have learned that we're sharing intelligence and preparation to make sure that the missiles were able to land in the right locations. Again, we understand at this hour, dozens of targets have been hit inside of Iran. And this is described by officials here and in the United States as an ongoing operation that is expected to take multiple days. It's important to look at what President Trump said about how the Americans will go after Iran's ballistic missile program. He says that Iran was developing longer range missiles that threaten the United States and other allies around the world, and that the U.S. will destroy that missile program because it was not only threatening Israel, but the United States. You know that there are somewhere between 30 and 40,000 U.S. troops as we speak in the region. There are bases in places like Qatar, the Al Udeid base in Kuwait, in Jordan, where there are U.S. jets right now, and of course in Israel. And the president extended an olive branch to the Iranians. He gave them a chance to come to the table and to make those diplomatic concessions about.
I'm be real with you. Like, bro, our negotiators did nothing like that. They moved the goalposts because they wanted a war with Iran because they were working for Israel. And I know everybody hates hearing, but what's what's said? Everybody's working for Israel. No, but our negotiators sure was. I mean, Iran comes in talking about bringing it down to 3.5%, and we're talking about their enriched uranium. They say, okay, then come back and be like, oh, that's not enough. Then they want to talk about ballistic missiles and proxies when they told us that the main concern was their nuclear weapons capability or the nuclear program that could evolve into a nuclear weapon, which we never, no proof that they are building one whatsoever. None at all. We just say it because, well, it's good. It's good for propaganda. It gets people thinking that, oh, well, they were actually building a bomb. All right, then, yeah, that's the reason why we attacked them. But guess what? We had no proof that they were ever building a bomb. None whatsoever. And we haven't had one for decades because we've been trying to find out for decades. Like, go ahead and look it up. Look up Bibi Netanyahu telling us that they've been creating a bomb for decades and that they're 2-3 weeks away from it. And it has been the same 2-3 weeks for 20 years.
Their nuclear program. And you heard President Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, in an interview on Fox. It was very interesting last weekend. And he said they're not quite sure why the Iranians are not getting the message. President Trump has proven time and time again that he is going to do what he says he's going to do. Remember, when we look at the history here, this is a man who ordered the killing of Qasem Soleimani top Iranian general. And we're just getting an alert now as we speak, John, from Israel's Home Front Command. And my cameraman here is going to zoom in on the phone. And so we can see if you can see it here. But there's an alert coming in right now from Israel's Home Front Command. And this is warning people about incoming missile fire. My producer is going to translate it directly for me here. Just stand by 1 second here. And you can see that alert.
Jesus.
Okay, so the translation here, the top line translation, John, is alert in your area. Please go to a safe room. This is indicative.
All right, let's go to some underground footage here. We got footage from what, like I said, an impact that happened in Jordan. What? Ooh, in the background right there, you can see it. And that was a U.S. air base in Jordan. Yeah. All right, now let's go ahead and go into Iranian. This is in Iran on the ground right now. So let's get 45 seconds in here. I pray for these people. And shout out to my man, Captain Alimar. He says exactly 20 years of fear mongering about Iran's nukes. Bro, that's what irritates me. Because remember what they told us the first time? That we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. We set them back 2 years. 6 months later, we're crying about the same nuclear capabilities that we so-called obliterated. Remember that. Remember that, guys. We said that we obliterated it. Now, all of a sudden, it's the topic of discussion again. Oh, and their missiles and their proxies. But we thought, remember, we went in there telling the American people this is all about the nukes or their potential to make nukes. Which was there. So that's what's going on in Iran right now. And this is happening. This would happen in Iran. Remember, they said their missile defense systems have been weakened, right? I hope they put music behind it. And this is what Iran is currently doing right now, just sending missiles all over the Middle East, striking whoever they can hit, whatever air base they can hit, because to them, they're all enemies of them. They're all working with the Israelis. They're all working with the United States, and they're not no friend of Iran, which, I mean, that's actually a pretty good point. To be honest with you, they're not wrong.
Of incoming ballistic missile fire or drone fire. Just give me 1 second here. I just want to talk to the crew here. What do we know?
Oh, shit. All right, a drone strike hit Jerusalem.
So, John, again, these alerts are expected to go out across the country here. It says, enter to protected space. And again, this is just an indication that the Israelis believe there are possible launches from Iran that could come and target population centers here. As we know, during the ongoing operation that took place last summer, the Israelis had to intercept a lot of the incoming fire, and they had help from the Americans to do so. There are a number of alerts that go out, and we're going to stay up with you here, John, as we go back and forth talking about this situation with the latest information, because normally how this happens, and you can see there are a lot of moving parts here. We have to take a lot of things into consideration, but the emergency alert goes out on the phones, and then as any sort of incoming fire gets closer, the sirens will sound across major cities like Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city, and that is considered the last alert amid the incoming fire. And as this alert has just gone out, I want to break down what Israel has to prepare in terms of the ability to shoot down the incoming fire. They have smaller range systems, including the Iron Dome and David Sling, but it's really the Arrow 2 and 3 systems that will be active if there is any incoming ballistic missile fire. You also have THAAD and Patriot missile defense systems supplied by the Americans that are on the ground here in Israel. And remember, there are some U.S. forces here that are helping in the southern part of the country at the CMCC, because President Trump was able to get that ceasefire together between Israel and Hamas. And so there are American forces on the ground helping to implement that ceasefire. But of course, this is a separate issue here. The decision to launch these strikes against the Iranian regime, according to President Trump, are meant to not only protect U.S. allies in the region, but also to protect the United States. And as we wait to see if there is any incoming fire here, I want to just give you a rundown of what I was talking about before. President Trump gave Iran a diplomatic option. He gave them a chance.
Oh, and 4 minutes ago, there was a missile strike on Iran's missile production facilities in Keshmar or no? Let me go ahead and get the right pronunciation for that one.
Chance to come to the
But
table.
yes, there was a Iranian missile production facility that was attacked. This came in about 4 minutes ago.
And reach a nuclear agreement to export their enriched uranium, to reduce to zero their enriching process. And the Iranians were going back and forth about this with negotiators, including Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and the answers were not sufficient for President Trump. What's important to remember here, and again, this relates to the interview just last weekend on Fox News that U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff gave, is that President Trump is a man during his first term who ordered a strike against Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, outside of Baghdad's international airport. The Iranians had threatened for years that if Soleimani was ever killed, there would be a crushing response. Ultimately, they fired 13 ballistic missiles at a base in western Iraq. We were there on the ground in Baghdad reporting at that time. But President Trump also last year during the 12-day war here ordered Operation Midnight Hammer to destroy Iran's nuclear.
Oh God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support. You got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements? $2 and up. I'll be happy to read it out loud and engage with it. Like I said, just $2. Or you can hit me on the Venmo to double your support. Well, let's get right back to it.
Facilities from Fordo to Isfahan. He launched these strikes with B-2 bombers and bunker buster bombs. And the Iranians still didn't receive the message. According to intelligence reports, they were trying to rebuild their nuclear program. And ultimately, that was part of the decision-making factor we have learned of why President Trump ordered these strikes against Iran that are ongoing today. But again, to conclude here, what we know at this moment, the Israeli military remains on high alert. We just received a notification, and it comes across on phones as an extreme alert. Reports right now in Israel, and again, we're going to stay with you, John, here. Reports right now in Israel indicate that the IDF has detected incoming missiles toward Israel, and right now there are sirens sounding in northern Israel.
You know, it's a bit disturbing that's coming from, well, my side, MAGA. Like, I know you guys are probably hearing me out going, oh, yeah, this guy S.E.T must be a leftist. No, I'm not actually. I'm a conservative. And I believe in holding people to their word. If Trump said no new wars, then I'm going to hold him to his word on no new wars. And guess what? This is looking like a possible new war. Because remember, this day one. We don't know if they're just flexing muscles just to see what one another can do, and it might just stop tomorrow and they come to a deal, or this is actually going to be dragged out. So I'm not calling it a war yet, but this is military engagement, and this is not what I personally voted for. Honestly, I voted for Trump. One of the reasons I voted for Trump because he said we weren't going to get into drawn out wars that's going to cost us American lives, American dollars, and then further crush our economy. Like, this is kind of what comes with war. I hope you know this.
And again,
or maybe you guys weren't around for the Iraq War, and maybe y'all weren't around for that. Maybe y'all wasn't. Maybe you didn't see how bad that effed us up as Americans. Maybe y'all a bit too young.
We're getting these alerts in just now. And so just stay with us here, John. And I'm just checking here with sources who are texting as we speak. Stand by. Yep. Okay. So there are sirens sounding right now in northern Israel. Again, those alerts went out on phones about missile launches that were detected from Iran. They'll often go out across the country to ensure that people can stay close to safe rooms and bomb shelters. Some of them are inside buildings. Others are beneath the ground. But we see the amount of damage that these ballistic missiles can cause. More than 24 people were killed during the war last year in the 12-day war in June. by these Iranian ballistic missiles. They often can overwhelm air defense systems. And I spoke with one U.S. intelligence official over the past week who said this was the major concern about a possible Iranian response, is that they would try to overwhelm the air defense systems that are here on the ground. We can also expect the Americans to assist in shooting down any of the incoming fire. Remember, the world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is currently off the coast of Israel in the eastern Mediterranean. Local media is reporting at least 2 missiles were fired toward northern Israel, triggering those sirens. But again, we can report at this hour, John, that the Iranians have started their response. At this point, it appears to be limited. And that could be because, again, the Israelis and the Americans were working hand in glove over the past several weeks and months to prepare for these strikes. And you have to understand that the ballistic missile program is on the target list.
But all right, man, let's go ahead and listen to, I want to go both sides. I want to listen to the guys who are supporting these strikes, and I want to listen to the guys who are not supporting these strikes. So let's go ahead and start off with one of the biggest people. Honestly, let's go to the guy who pretty much called this out. Let's go to him. Shout out to Nick Fuentes. I may not agree with the